In a typical classroom research project, students have ample time to gather information, build an argument, and arrive at a single predetermined answer. Professional client work rarely looks like that. Real consulting is driven by vague requests, conflicting evidence, and strict deadlines. Success in the field begins with identifying what the client is actually asking before attempting to formulate a solution. To develop genuine professional judgment, we have to move students out of the safety of endless information gathering. We must introduce constraints. That is the logic behind The Brief, a 12-session career readiness simulation from Patience Learning, where high school students become junior consultants advising a fictional client, Redline Fitness. The client wants to know if they should launch a new budget tier membership. Student teams operate under a strict budget of 9 analyst hours to conduct their entire investigation. Every source costs time. By artificially restricting time, the simulation stops students from simply opening every possible tab. They must decide if evidence is relevant enough to earn their limited attention. On day 1, teams receive a vague brief and 3 evidence leads, budgeting to open 2. As they choose, unrecoverable analyst hours disappear. This morphs into a chart comparing a volatile national market trend against a stable Redline member survey. Which data set answers the client's problem? Then the technical work begins. Students use sign-up origin data to calculate the potential cannibalization of existing memberships and map out the exact monthly revenue effect. They run simple lifetime value calculations and explicitly defend the assumptions embedded in their math. Forcing students to manually reproduce these calculations prevents them from treating automated spreadsheet outputs as automatic proof of success. By day 5, teams look at this recommendation card and must formally commit to launch, pilot, or do not launch the budget tier. They also have to define a falsification condition, stating exactly what future metric or finding would prove their recommendation wrong. Then, on day 6, a flattering late national data point lands on their desks, seemingly supporting the team's chosen recommendation. This poses an analytical test. Will students blindly accept this new number because it aligns with their bias, or reject it for falling outside the client's scope? This moment, known as the sting, exposes the difference between seeking confirmation and exercising true professional objectivity. After incorporating feedback from a fresh reader's critique, teams revise their written memos to fix blind spots in their argument. Next, they enter the room for a 3-minute live pitch, defending their logic against evidence-based curveball questions. The simulation is designed so that launch, pilot, or do not launch can each be defensible choices if the evidence and assumptions align. The grade evaluates the quality of reasoning, awareness of limitations, and the ability to navigate uncertainty. This assessment model shifts the focus away from achieving a predetermined outcome, placing it entirely on demonstrating a resilient thought process. Educators facilitate the engagement by protecting the sequence and enforcing the investigation budget, a role that requires no prior management consulting experience. This hub distributes a verified calculation guide, a teacher confidence guide, and ready-to-use rubrics, providing the structure needed for confident facilitation. The controlled daily releases ensure students cannot read ahead. This preserves the sequence's integrity and aligns directly with CTE standards. You deliver an authentic, consequence-driven professional environment without having to engineer a complex curriculum from scratch. Implementing the brief bridges the gap between merely collecting information and practicing professional judgment. Bring the brief into your classroom. Explore it at patiencelearning.com.